How are you today? It's been about a year since I did my last video, but I think things are moving fairly quickly now, and so we need to look at what's happening at this very moment in the Middle East. And I've been talking about this for about a year. I don't think anybody's actually getting what I've been trying to say. I think some are starting to maybe see it, but we'll see what the White Horseman, Erdogan-Gog does in the near future. I believe in the next few weeks to months, we're going to see a major transformation of the Middle East in the next months or year. Erdogan, as I've said for a while, I believe he is the White Horseman. I believe he will be given a crown, which is the crown as the new Ottoman Emperor, and that he will go forth in the Middle East and he will be the conqueror that brings forth the other three horsemen. War, by having his armies basically invade the Middle East and devour everything in their path. God says he's going to allow this to happen. He says that he's going to go up against Iran, and he's going to crush Iran against the Euphrates. As you can see, there's a little bit of cooperation going on between Iran and Russia and Turkey and all these different factions. But I've stated for a long time this has nothing, yes, Russia could play a part in this, but it's going to be more of a backup type thing. It's not Rosh, which means Russia. It's not a Russian communist thing. It's going to be a Muslim, Jew, Christian thing. And yes, there are going to be other players. There's going to be all kinds of things going on in the world. But the thing we need to watch is always the barometer, and that's Israel and that's Turkey. Because Turkey's going to start the chain of the seals. Turkey's going to go down into Syria, and they're going to collect these 10 nations. Now, he's close to taking another 30-mile swath. He's been talking about this for a while, and I'm talking about Erdogan of Turkey. He wants to take 30 miles south of his border so he can do a buffer thing going on here. But this isn't going to stop. This isn't going to, quit overnight. He's going to keep going. He's going to reinvent this new Ottoman Empire. He's been talking about bringing the Caliphate against the Jews and the Christians for as long as I can remember. And people say, well, it's Russia. No, polar north of Jerusalem is Ankara, Turkey. So the seat of Satan is at Ankara, is Pergamus, Turkey. All the churches that were warned in Revelation, the 7 churches, were all in Turkey. Everything revolves around Turkey, okay? And Turkey's going to be the one. Just northeast of Manbiji, I believe that's how you say it. I might be saying it wrong. It's a area that the Americans have been holding on to for a while in the northern part of Syria. But there's this tomb on the Euphrates just northeast of that. And that is a Turkish-owned tomb inside Syria. Now, it seems really weird because they've moved this tomb a number of times in the last few years closer and closer to Turkey. This place, when he secures it, is going to be the place that gives him the authority to reinvent, rejuvenate, reconstitute this Ottoman Empire. He will then become the new Ottoman Emperor. This is where the White Horseman comes in. Nobody can figure out who the White Horseman is. I love it. I've watched thousands of videos on the White Horseman. And, this is something fairly new for me because I really didn't look at videos up to the last couple years. I've been doing this for 40 years, but it's pretty much in my own confines. I'm not related to any church. I actually don't think most churches do a very good job. The mega churches are just terrible, and there's a lot of confusion in the Catholic Church and some other things. And I don't want to call anyone out because that's not what this is about. It's about determining what is really happening in the world today. And Erdogan has told everybody, getting out of his way, he's going to go in. No one's going to control this but him. He may use them as stepping stones to get his thing done by getting all the way through the Middle East into northern Africa and back to the doorstep of Israel before he actually attacks, and then gives the authority for an hour to these 10 Muslim nations to basically try to destroy Jerusalem and take the Temple Mount. But that's going to end badly on the 6th seal for him. So what did I just said something really important there. Nobody can determine the White Horseman. This first seal, if you can't understand who the White Horseman is, you're never going to determine who and how the chain of events occur in Revelation. It just doesn't happen. No one can tell you these things. I don't know how many videos, and they sort of skirt around it, and they're really not sure. And, you know, it's amazing that all these people have all these years, and they can't determine the proper events or even how to read Revelation properly. It's mind-blowing, and maybe that's why it's the hidden book until the end. But the end is coming, and Erdogan's already unleashing the sorrows and the birth pains. So we need to figure this out. So I just stated that Erdogan-Gog of Ezekiel 38 and 39, the White Horseman, Gog has the bow and arrows, and God knocks him down on the ground and destroys him and his armies that are up against the mountains of Israel. Now a lot of people will say, well, that Gog is Antichrist. Well, I don't agree with that, and I'll tell you why I don't agree with that. There's a number of reasons. Yes, Gog will be an end-time leader or king that go against Israel, but he's not Antichrist. Number one, Gog goes against, well, he collects the 10 nations as he's going through. He as Ezekiel 38:39 states, the goat destroys the ram, Persia. Goat is Turkey. He hits them so hard against the Euphrates and crushes the ram into the ground and tramples on him and absorbs him. And Russia's going to say, wow, I really don't want to deal with this. We've been there before. We don't want to go back here. This is a Muslim, Jew, Christian thing. And yes, we are part of this, but we're not going to be a major factor here in the end, at least in that area of the world. When he does this, he is going to finally make it back to Israel. And they're going to sit on the doorstep, and they can't nuke these guys. I mean, I heard, well, it's going to be a nuclear event. No, it's not going to be a nuclear event. God does not want this radiated. He wants these people to make a choice. But he's going to kill the armies that go against Israel, and 2 out of 3 Israelis die in this attack. It's a terrible event that's coming up. And people need to understand what's happening and the ramifications and just how terrible this thing's going to be. But he's going to die. This Erdogan, White Horseman, Gog, this new Ottoman Emperor, is going to die when he gets to Israel and he touches that Temple Mount, because he's the first seal, and he's going to bring all this destruction with the other 3 horsemen. And then the martyrs are going to say, wow, are you ever going to revenge us for all this carnage that this guy's been throwing down? And God says, yes, I'm going to give you a white robe and you're going to rest. And I'm going to take care of this. And on the 6th seal, when Erdogan-Gog and his hordes attack Israel, take Jerusalem, touch that Temple Mount, that 6th seal is going to pop. And when it pops, the whole world is going to feel this. Not just Israel. Yeah, there's tectonic plates everywhere. But this is going to be a chain of fire event. It tells us every man everywhere will feel this. They will hide in the mountains and know that something really, if you're a Christian, really cool is happening. And if you're a Muslim, you're going to say, wow, this is crazy, because we just were destroyed. 10 nations of Muslims went against this country, and now they're all on the ground dead. All of them. It's going to take 7 months to bury them in this this valley of Hamon-Gog. Okay? And then what's going to happen then, okay, is through this process we're going to see the trumps start to hit. Okay? And when that sixth trump hits, right after the opening of the pit on the fifth, as Michael's standing on the pit with both feet, pulling Satan from heaven, as they're having a war at heaven at the same time. There's a dual event happening on the earth as well in heaven. Michael's throwing him down and making the two beasts, earth and sea, rise from the pit on the sixth trumpet. They're going to resurrect Gog, dead Erdogan, out of the valley of Hamon-Gog into Antichrist. Okay? This will be a supernatural event. This is not Macron of France, or it's not even Erdogan of Turkey anymore. It's Antichrist brought back as a dead Gog out of a grave. Why do we know that? Because it tells us Gog is buried, and the Antichrist only dies as the end when Jesus comes back and forces them to walk into the lake of fire. So they're not the same people. And Gog is not going to be stopped. It tells us no matter what the United States does, no matter what any country decides they want to do, they will not stop Erdogan-Gog from making it to Israel. Why is God doing this? And God's always in control. You have to understand, God's in control of this whole process. From Michael bringing the beast up to throwing him out of heaven forever on that same time, to bringing him back as Antichrist, to the time he pushes him into the lake of fire and he destroys him and Satan's bound for 1,000 years. This is all planned and it's all by God's design. But why is it happening? Well, the Jews don't seem to want to accept Jesus as his son. And they've fallen away from God in so many ways. I mean, you go talk to a lot of Jewish communities and they don't even necessarily believe a lot of this stuff anymore. And it's a shame. You know, he's tried to tell them. They won't listen. You know, Jesus has been here before. It's through faith of that death and that resurrection that we will finally gain this crown, this reward to get into heaven. But that doesn't happen until the seventh trump, when our Lord comes back. You're going to be here for the seals and up to the seventh trump. When the sounding of the seventh trump, then we all leave that are left. And there's not going to be many left. And it tells us, and this one bothered me. Okay, so the first seal's coming on, sorrows are happening, and the birth pains are going on, and Erdogan's marching through the Middle East, and he's bringing over the three other horsemen, and the martyrs are finally going to sound off, and he kills him on the sixth seal, and then we have a half hour of silence before he picks the 144,000, and we start the trumpets. And the trumpets are going to have this procession as they're burying all these dead bodies and putting Gog in the grave. Sorry, Erdogan, it's not going to end up nice for you. And right now, Erdogan seems to be the guy. He's the prime minister or the president of Turkey. So he's the man right now. And until that changes, he will be the man. Now, is it Erdogan? Will there be a change? Possibly. But it's the guy from Turkey that runs the country from Turkey that actually is going to do this. So that's the guy we need to be watching. So now the other thing I want people to think about is, think about this. So the sixth trumpet happens, and the two beasts, the false prophet, which I believe is the Pope, and will convert the churches from Christianity to Islam and denounce Jesus and move the church to the Middle East. And everybody's like, oh, that just will never happen. He's already assigning treaties with the Muslims. So don't tell me it can't happen. He's not a good Pope. And I don't mean to judge anybody. That's not what it's about. He is what he is, and God's picked him to be the one. So I'm just guessing that God's got a plan, and he'll figure it out. And he'll impregnate him with supernatural power because he pulls things from the heavens and makes him look like this guy's the dude, you know? I mean, the other guy, the beast of the sea, that's Antichrist. But between the sixth trump and the seventh trump, all things happen. Because sixth trump, Antichrist comes ahead, forward with the false prophet. And what happens on the seventh trump? Our Lord comes back. So that span is approximately, and I'm saying 1,335 days. And why do I say that? Because once they bury all these bodies in this grave, and they finally impregnate and reconstitute Gog as Antichrist, as a resurrected Gog, we are going to see the sacrifices end from the Muslims, because he's not going to allow them to do anything but exalt him. Okay? And so he will stop the sacrifices. Well, that's at 1290 days. So we have the 1290, the 1260, the 3.5 years. And then what does he tell us? He tells us that if you're a very blessed man, he has to shorten the second half to 1,335 days, basically, because there won't be anybody left. And what happens right before that 1,335 days? We see that the two witnesses that have prophesied for basically 1,260 days are destroyed on the mount. They're basically laying in the street for 3.5 days, and then they're resurrected. And God tells us very plainly, when you see this happen, you better be ready, because time is done. It's almost over. You have the last little bit to get through, and they're going to be gotten out, and they're going to be killing everybody that doesn't believe in this abominational supernatural thing that's sitting on God's seat. So now, why do we believe it's the Ottoman Empire? Well, from Daniel's dream, and this is where I've tried to explain this to Joel Richardson and a few others that I believe actually get this, but they aren't really seeing it, and so that's why I'm trying to make a video to get them to understand at least this point of view. And this is a point of view that no one's ever talked about, I'll guarantee it. I'm so far off the chain, nobody has a clue what I'm talking about, and until they actually start to see it happen, it's not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. So the statue that Daniel interpreted through Nebuchadnezzar's dream was that he saw, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, and the divided Ottoman Empire that destroyed Rome. And what happened to Rome? They went to Constantinople, Turkey. Their whole thing was moved to Turkey. So the empire was moved. But, well, it's Europe. No, it's not. Why would you think it's Europe? Nothing revolves around that. It's all about the Ottoman Empire and the four divided kings. But the four divided kings, and the one where the little horn comes as Antichrist at the end, is not the same thing as Gog. Gog is just the leader, or the white horseman that's given the crown at the end and will die against the mountains of Israel. He's not Antichrist, because Gog's buried and dies. Antichrist gets thrown in the lake of fire. So it's not the same. It can't even be close to the same. And the first horseman is not Antichrist, because he didn't come up till the sixth trump. So that makes no sense at all. Let me check something real quick. I just want to see something. Thank you. I'm doing old school. I got just a video camera, and now one thing I do want to explain is I don't do this for money. There's nothing in this for me other than I'm being chastised pretty much all the time about my point of views, because they are so much radically different than everybody else's. I tried to explain for some time. I have had a minimum of 4 images, and it's hard to explain to people on Facebook or YouTube what's going on there. You know, it's like I'm talking right now, and then all of a sudden the lights go out, it goes black, and then I see an imprint of a fiery neon light that like smacks me in the head, and it's like a branch, like somebody branch you. I don't know how to explain it. It's not, it takes a second. It's not like a huge event. It's just this boom, but the thing is, I see these words, I know what the words mean, and I know what it means, which is really weird, because you think, well, okay, you know, you see these images, you think, well, what does that mean? No, it interpreted itself. So the first one, and I documented these all on my Facebook page to try to keep all this in line. I just wrote them down that day, and I really had to go back and write them down later because I hadn't. So the first one was the White Horseman was Gog. So I saw this image of G-O-G out of nowhere. Day visions, man. They're not night visions. They're just, you're sitting there, boom, it happens, and it almost knocks you off your seat. I don't know how to explain it. That was January 20th, 2018. And I say that's the first seal also possibly breaking, because that's when we saw Erdogan first go into Syria. For the very first time, it's documented in news articles that Erdogan went into Syria on this date, which I thought was pretty unique. You know, we're having all these events occurring, and the day after I have this image, I see this individual, you know, start to move into Syria. Now, he has grown months and months and months of bringing troops down to the Syrian border. I can't tell you how many columns of armor and troops he's moved down to the Syrian border. It's got to be massive. No one's watching him either. That's the funny part about it. We're all talking about Iran and Russia, everybody else, but Erdogan's starting to be exposed. He's starting to talk pretty heavy. The second vision was the Tomb of Suleyman-Shah, and I knew immediately it was about the Ottoman Empire, and that he wanted to secure this tomb so that he could then become the new Ottoman Emperor. This is where he gets his crown. This is where the White Horseman's going to be given a crown. He's going to go forth and conquer. And he's going to conquer up to the time he gets to Israel's doorstep and the sixth seal breaks. The third one was off the chart. It said 3 woes and 3 trumps. And most people can't tell you properly how to read Revelation. You know, they think the seals and the trumps and the bowls all overlap, or they can't determine the exact thing, or there's more trumps than 7, or there's so many different things that people look at. And I don't mean to scoff at any of them, because I know we're all trying. We're all trying, and I've learned from a lot of these people. You know, one thing I've learned about is watching videos from other people is it will make you go, no, I don't believe that, but yet they always seem to have something that you can grab a hold of, because most people believe in certain things that are real and true and that we all can sort of agree on, but then you get to the White Horseman and everybody's all over the place. The 3 woes and 3 trumps was amazing. Now, so when you read Revelation, you have to understand, I've done another video. If you want to watch these other videos, I've even got one a year ago, and I gotta say, it's been a year since I brought these things up to everyone to start, okay? But 3 woes, 3 trumps is incredible, because you read Revelation like this. 1 through 10, there's 22 books, okay? 1 through 10 books, 15 and 16, 20 through 22. Why is that? Because at the end of book 10, he almost blows the 7th trump, okay? But he doesn't. He doesn't do it till book 15, because then he starts dropping the bowls, and he tells you that at the very beginning. I'm going to start dropping the bowls, which is the sounding of the 7th trump. Well, what is 11, 12, 13, and 14? They're reiterations of the main storyline ahead, and they are a judgment against the nations, okay? But you got to look at 11, 12, 13, and 14 because they each basically state the same things. And you can see this because I'm going to give you the key to this now. If you look at the three woes, which are attached to the last three trumpets, you'll notice that there's a pattern that occurs in the Bible, in Revelation. You also have to look at the 42 months or the 3.5 years or, you know, 1,260 days. You color code these specific passages and you'll notice something happen. So you color code each time the first woe and the fifth trump comes up. You color code a different color with the second woe and the sixth trump, and you color code again with the third woe and the seventh trump, and then you do another color code with the 42 months or the 3.5 years or the 1,260 days, and you're going to see these patterns form. Well, what is 15 and 16? That's all about the 7 bowls. So you go from the sounding, almost sounding of the trump of the 10th book, to the sounding of the 7th trump and the 7 bowls that occur in 15 and 16. Then what happens in 17, 18, and 19? It does the same thing. You're going to go back and you're going to find these elements of the 3 woes, 3 trumps, and 42 months. And it tells you that 17, 18, and 19 is just about the destruction of Mystery Babylon. It's not about the main storyline. It's filling in all these holes and giving you all these. It's like a program. You got this main program and you've got these 7 subchapters. So you got 15 books of main chapters and you got 7 subchapters. Each of these books feed up to the storyline. As you go through, you're going to see, wow, there's the 6th trumpet again. Wow, there's the 42 months again. Wow, there's another one there. And I've done 3 videos on this because it was really hard to do it in one and explain it properly. So you have to watch all 3 videos to figure it out. But it will tell you that this is how you read Revelation properly. And so now we can see how this chain of events really occur and how it's going to finish. And it is chronological, but you've got to understand that these 7 subchapters, 4 books, 11 through 14, are only about the destruction and the judgment of the nations, and 17, 18, and 19 are only about the destruction of Mystery Babylon. But all these elements pull up, and it's like a program. You got a main program and you have these subroutines where the main program comes down, it pulls up certain information to give you different aspects and different views of what's happening so God can explain it, because it's so complicated. You can't do it in just one book or one lineage. It would be so confusing. So he gave you these. And what did he say right in book 10? Probably the most important thing of Revelation that you could have read. He warns us to watch the 3 woes and 3 trumps. Why? Because they unlock the reason of how to read this book properly and how you can color code this. It's an awesome learning tool because you can go in and you can say, listen, each time you hit these things in 11 or 12, 13, or 14, or in 17, 18, and 19 books, you're going to notice in these other 15 books above here that they feed up to that top set of books. And you'll notice that it's chronological. It's amazing. God's logic is off the chart on this one. Now, another thing I want to explain before we get too much further on the last one, which was really off the chart, is this isn't from me. I don't know. I mean, I understood this stuff, but it's not something, it's not from me. I mean, I'm not creating these images. I'm not seeing these. I mean, I get it, but somebody, something is giving me these images. So it's not of me. And I'm not any more special than anyone out here. I'm just a normal guy like the rest of you trying to look for answers. Why me? Oh, there's probably a lot of reasons in my life it could be me. Who knows? God chooses who He wants, and I had somebody the other day, well, you can't be the one because when God gives His inspirations to people, witnesses have to see it, and big things occur around you. Bull hockey. It's just pure bunk. I hate we have to rightly divide the word of the Lord. You know what? You're wrongly dividing the word most of the time, as far as I can tell. And I'm not knocking any religion, but they're just wrong in a lot of cases. This is not, it's like Daniel or anyone that had a dream in their night or any other vision. Moses walked up the mountain. There wasn't anyone else there. He saw the image that God knew he'd understand and that he would possibly be able to relate to and would be so afraid of. We can't look upon God anyway. So why did he give me these images? I don't know, because I'm still out here a year later telling y'all that this is happening and that he's breaking the first seal and that we're going to see a lot of things happening really soon. But the fourth image, which happened on... So the first image of Gog, that was January 20th, 2018. The second image was Tomb of Suleyman-Shah, which was February 11th, 2018. The three woes, three trumps was on March 22nd of 2018, and then I had a huge gap. I thought maybe I was done. Yeah, he's never done with you. Was on December 11th, 2018. This one was really off. So I've been watching everything about Mystery Babylon and everything. There's good people out there saying neat things. Some think it's old Babylon. Some think it's Mecca, which got the black stone there, and that's possible. But I don't believe that Antichrist or Satan, which is controlled the Antichrist, is going to let him walk around the black stone, and he's going to destroy it, and he's going to exalt the beast, and Mecca will fall and ruin. Mystery Babylon is Pergamus, Turkey. That's what was given to me. Why Pergamus, Turkey? You say, wow, it's not even a city anymore. That's right, it's not a city. It's Pergamus, Turkey, because it was renamed. Nobody even knows Pergamus, Turkey exists. Maybe that's part of the mystery. This is the seat of Satan, okay? God's bride is Israel, is Jerusalem. It's his bride. Satan's bride is his bride, which is Pergamus, Turkey. When the sixth seal breaks, Damascus will be destroyed, the Temple Mount will be destroyed, because they got to rebuild the third temple. And they're going to destroy all these other areas by God's surgical strikes from heaven on the sixth seal. He tells us this is going to happen. He's going to destroy these armies. But they're going to rebuild the temple and Pergamus in the 3.5 years before Abomination, because God is going to allow Antichrist to exalt his bride and become the whore of the world. Everyone is going to come through here as the Pope is standing there trying to get you all to convert, as he's standing next to Antichrist, because that's what it tells us. And he's going to try to get you to convert. But everything, all markets, everything will go through Pergamus, Turkey. It will not be Mecca. I do not believe. And maybe it will be. I'm just telling you, these are what the images are telling me. I have to believe they're right, because I believe they're from a higher power. An angel, God. I don't know what they're from. You tell me what they're from. I've had people, you need to go to the psycho or a little off. I don't know what they are. Maybe God's finally revealing it to someone to tell everybody. He tells us he's going to tell everything before it happens. So I've been telling everybody, and I've been bugging everybody on YouTube. I'm sorry. I do not mean to step on people's toes. And I do not mean to be forward in my ideas. But I do believe that is important, and God wanted this message out there. So forgive me if I have offended anyone, and forgive me if for some reason, and I try not to be argumentative, I try to tell people that this is just what it is. I'm just trying to be a messenger. I have nothing to gain from this. That's always the first question. What are you gaining from this? Should you write a book or what? You know what? I could. Just the 3 woes and 3 trumps is an awesome training tool. It's a fantastic method of teaching people how to read this properly. So you could. I could make 3 or 4 books at this point. That's not why I'm here. That's not what this is about. Actually, I don't even like to be in front of this camera. But God wants me, I believe, to be here, and so I am here. And I'm telling you that what this is about is you have to understand who the first horseman is. This white horseman, this first seal, which is not Antichrist or it is not Jesus, is Gog. It's Gog of Ezekiel 38. He is the latter-day king that will come out of the finalization of the last of the divided emperor, or divided Ottoman empires, which are the feet of the iron and clay that never could mingle, and then the Ottoman Empire was destroyed in World War I, and all these countries were broken up, and then we're going to see this new king approach come out and finally attack Israel. Now, I also have another thing that I understand that I don't believe most are, and I don't believe they can because they can't figure out who Gog or the horseman is the wound of the 7th that turns into the 8th will be Gog dying, buried, and then resurrected into a supernatural Antichrist as the 8th head. Okay? Now, most people think that the wound came from World War I, but I don't believe that because he never went away. The Ottoman Empire has always been around in there. But he will go away, and the Ottoman Empire won't matter after Antichrist comes out because it will all be about him. So, these are the things I wanted to point out. I wanted to get this out on video. Time is short. We're having a supermoon tonight. It is March 20th. Of 2019. We had a blood moon event on February 21st, which I believe could have been the start of the second horseman. As I noticed, an article in the paper stated he was moving 80,000 troops to the Syrian border. 80,000. We have 1,000 guys there maybe now. He's got 80,000 on the border, and that was a month ago. What has he got there now? He's going to unleash this thing, and he's not going to get along with Iran, and Iran's going to get their butts kicked real soon. And he's going to adopt this tomb as his place to gain his authority, and he's going to become the new Ottoman Emperor, and he's going to end up in Israel, and he's going to die there. But do understand this. Antichrist is not Gog. Gog is buried in a tomb. Okay? Antichrist only gets placed in the lake of fire. There is a huge difference here. And no one as far as I can tell you who the first horseman is and who Gog really truly is. But we know he's the prime minister or the president or the guy that runs Turkey. And I've gone over that in other videos too. It's not Russia. It's definitely not China. And some of these, it's not Europe. Rome is part of this because the Pope's going to end up bringing the church over. But beyond that, Rome really doesn't have anything to do with this. And they're not Mystery Babylon either because it's too far away from the seat of God to allow him to be basically an integral part of exalting and bringing fire down from hell or heaven so that they can exalt this beast that's coming up. And yes, the beast could be this nation of Islamic people because he's going to be like Allah, but Antichrist will be the head of this, and the false prophet will be the other head. And as Michael opens his pit up, throws Satan to earth, remove his seat completely forever, and then impregnates the Pope and resurrects Gog at the same time from that grave, you're going to see these two beasts arise, and basically at that point you're going to know what's happening. You at least then can go through and go, listen, I at least know where we are in the chain of events. And the other thing I want to explain is this. If Erdogan is the first seal, if he is the White Horseman, if he did break the seal on January 20th, or February 20th, 21st, when he went down into Syria, then the Darby-Schofield pre-trib rapture thing falls apart, because you weren't supposed to be here for any of it. I'm telling you, Jesus only comes back on the seventh trumpet. You will be here. You will have to endure. And like I told you, it's about saving souls, not flesh anymore. But you're going to make a whole lot better decisions if you prep yourself for the next 4 or 5 years before all this ends, instead of thinking you're going to get a golden Wonka ticket and you're not going to be here, which is the biggest deceit, lie, deception that Satan ever placed upon the churches, is that they're not going to be here for this. So I'm going to end with that. God bless you all. Please, please do what's necessary to protect your families. We're going to end up in a good place. God's going to win this war. God's got a plan. He's always in control. But things are being revealed to people, and things are going to start to happen now. And as I said, I'm going to end with this. Psalm 90:10 says everything. A generation is 70. A strong generation is 80. Israel was founded in May 14th of 2018. And God tells us his generation will not pass before all things happen. So, all things, then, if that is the case, and our God is truthful with his word, all things will happen prior to May 14th, 2028. I believe it will actually happen prior to that. Because God now has set a timeline on this world, and he's broken the first seal. And by that first breaking of the seal, a clock has started, a event that can't be changed. I wish Trump would just get our guys out of there, because they're in harm's way and there's nothing he can do about this. I've tried to contact the White House about this. They probably think I'm on a list now. It's important they understand who Gog and Erdogan truly are, and that they're going to change everything over there, and we can't do anything about it. And JFK, as I've said many times, JFK magic bullet can't kill Gog. Only God's going to kill him. And it's going to be brutal when it happens. And when that sixth seal breaks, and that's what I'm telling you, if you see 10 nations form around Israel, he's going to give them authority for 1 hour, 15 days to go into that country and devastate it. When you see that amassing happens, you know the stuff's on. That sixth seal is going to break real soon, so you better get it ready. And I'm telling you, you haven't started preparing, you better, because it's too late once it's happened. God bless you all. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate the people subscribed. This is all about God and his word and us understanding, so that we can then bring this message to you so you can see these chains of events happening. There is no time. No one can tell you when Jesus comes back. We get it. But you can follow this event calendar that God has built you in Revelation, and you can see these events occurring, and so that you know that you can have hope in the faith of our Lord, that he's always in control and will always be in control, and that there'll be a good ending at this, no matter how bad it gets. And it's going to get ugly, but you are going to be here. God bless you and have a great night. Thank you.